Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a restful break. Just before we get into the third session for today, we just wanted to thank the conference sponsors once again. So Pain BC, the Strategy for Patient-Oriented Research Chronic Pain Network, the Canadian Institutes of Health Research's Institute of Musculoskeletal Health and Arthritis, the Partnership for the Engagement of Patients with Pain Research Project, and Health Canada. Many of our presenters will share stories and perspectives shaped by their individual lived experiences, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent the views of Pain Canada or our sponsors. Remember, these sessions are being recorded, and you'll have time to watch them after the conference is available on Pain Canada's YouTube channel. So we wanted to welcome you to the third and final session for today, helping you help yourself. And please be reminded that there'll be a survey at the end of the session, so please take that and make sure your voice is heard regarding how helpful the session was for you and any comments. We have the French interpretation and closed captions available for you. And with that said, I will pass it over to Haley, who's going to be moderating the session today.
Thanks so much, Delane. I'll go ahead and take it from here as we move into our session, helping you help yourself, aidez-vous vous-même. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I am presenting from the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This land is covered by the peace and friendship treaties, which recognize the Mi'kmaq's enduring relationship with the stewardship of this territory. And I invite everyone joining us from other regions to take a moment to reflect on the traditional lands you're on today. As we come together in this shared space, I want to take a moment also to center our focus on why we're here today. So, a very powerful statement starting off for the session. Living with chronic pain is complex, but you're not alone. And today, together with 4 experts in the field of self-management, we'll explore how you can take a more active role in managing your chronic pain. You can expect lively and empowering presentations for this session, and we will have plenty of time for answering questions at the end. So please use the Q&A function to have your questions there. And we will go through those at the end. By the end of the session, you'll leave with new insights, useful strategies, and the overall encouragement to confidently take charge of your own health journey. We are here to help you help yourself. In French, it's aidez-vous vous-même, when navigating the complexity and the evolving landscape of our healthcare system while dealing with chronic pain. So now let me introduce our expert speakers, Dr. Andrea Furlane from Toronto Rehab University Health Network. She is a pain specialist. Linda Wilhelm, a patient advocate and community leader at the Chronic Pain Network, as well as Dr. Jones, Charmaine Jones of Dragon Claw, an organization that's helping patients living with autoimmune conditions. And last but not least, Dr. Anne-Marie Pinard, who's an anesthesiologist and the head of the chronic pain department at University Laval. She's a full professor there. So now we'll get started. First, we'll start with Dr. Furlane, followed by a presentation with Linda and Dr. Jones. They're presenting together. And lastly, we'll end with Dr. Pinard rounding out the session, and she'll be presenting in French with English slides. And we'll also take questions in French as well. So we'll answer both questions in both official languages. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Furlane.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to talk to you today. And I'll ask someone to share my slides. So I'll be talking to you today about the importance of communicating with your physicians, with your healthcare professional. Yes, so thank you so much. And I label this as knowledge is medicine. Because it is. It actually, having the knowledge about a condition, especially chronic pain, is part of the treatment. So I'll see if I can, yeah, if I can. So I'll just say next, and then you can move. So next, please. In terms of disclosures related to this presentation, I will talk about a YouTube channel that I have for people with chronic pain. And that is a conflict because every time people watch those annoying ads, I get some pennies in my bank account. I also mention some products that people can do exercises and they can buy on Amazon. And I have an Amazon affiliate marketing. I also publish 2 books, and I will talk about those books, and I do get royalties. In terms of research, I have an online course for physicians about opioids prescribing, and I get an unrestricted educational grants from CGPA. I have research grants from WSIB, CIHR, and I participate in some committees for the workers' compensation, that's the WSIB in Ontario. And I have a personal website that offers courses for healthcare professionals. Next, please. So why we should learn about pain, especially pain neuroscience? Because I told you knowledge is medicine, but what kind of knowledge? I want to focus today on the knowledge about the pain neuroscience, because that is the most powerful knowledge you can acquire for you if you are struggling with chronic pain. Because understanding how pain works actually change how people will experience pain. It's unbelievable. You say, no, I think I know how pain works. I have pain and I know how pain works. I'm talking about how pain works in your brain, in your spinal cord, in your sensors, in your body. Because sometimes if you press here, this is pressure, but if your body is detecting this as pain, there is a transduction abnormality somewhere. This is what we talk about neuroscience. Why touch becomes pain in your brain? What's going on? That's neuroscience, and we can explain how that happens. The other thing that we know a lot about neuroscience now is that when a person says, I don't have pain, they may have a big injury, damage to their body. And when they say, I have 10 out of 10 pain, they may not have any injury or damage to their body. And a classic example is phantom limb pain. The person doesn't even have a hand or a foot, but they have pain. There's no damage to the hand because the hand doesn't exist anymore, but they may have 10 out of 10 pain. And on the other hand, a person may have a lot of injury to their body and they may not feel pain. So there are a lot of examples. So the brain has a lot to do with how we interpret pain. This is what I think it's really important that people learn. We're not saying that the pain is not real, that they are imagining the pain. No, the pain is very real, but the brain is interpreting the signals that are coming from the body. So pain doesn't always mean harm. Next, please. So why this knowledge about neuroscience helps pain is because it helps to calm the fear that people have from the pain. And fear is the fuel of chronic pain, especially nociplastic pain. And if we can calm down the fear, it will calm down the pain. Like chronic pain is basically the person who is in the danger mode. They detect the danger, the brain thinks that there is a lot of, think about fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is the classical example of nociplastic pain and chronic pain. And the brain thinks that there is a danger everywhere, but actually the body is not broken, is not damaged. There is no injury everywhere. So the misunderstanding of what pain means leads to this fear, avoidance, disability, and PNE or pain neuroscience education can revert these things, like showing that there is a reversible sensitization rather than a permanent damage. And this understanding helps them to re-engage with their life. Next. Is there any evidence that if we provide pain neuroscience education to people, they will get better? Yes. There are systematic reviews showing that these are all the references here. Systematic reviews showing that if you provide this kind of education, you reduce pain intensity, disability, you improve movement. They start moving more because they're not afraid of moving. They know they're not going to damage their body part. Reducing their fear, catastrophizing, and increase their self-efficacy, which is what we all want. I want my patients to be in control of their life, not to be controlled by their pain. So we can do this by giving knowledge. Next. So I had a patient, I saw him a couple of weeks ago in follow-up, and we are giving this education to him. So he is enrolled in pain reprocessing therapy, which is this kind of therapy we are using here in our clinic at Toronto Rehab UHN. And he had done 3 sessions only. So he has, pain in his back, knee, and headaches for 20 years. His pain is mainly nociplastic. And what happened was he told me, and he was so happy because he said, please use my example to teach other people. So that's why I'm using his example today, because he asked that I use his example. So we gave him this knowledge that pain is not a reflection of how much damage is going in your body. So he was in a coffee shop and he was drinking his coffee, and then he got a notification on his cell phone that there was an email. He looked at the email and it was from his disability insurance. Immediately his headache started. He started having a bad episode of headache because he thought, oh, they denied my claim and they will cut my payments. And that's what was going on in his mind. And then he read the email, and the email said, your claim is approved. You don't need to, your payment is going to come to your bank account. And immediately his headache resolved. So in that moment, he actually experienced what we were trying to teach him, that his headache was just created by the synapses in the brain that were detecting danger. So this knowledge gave him power to make the connection that it was what he was thinking that was creating the headache. He said, otherwise, I would be panicking about that headache and I would be thinking about going to the emergency, but the knowledge gave him power. Next. What are the goals of patient education is to correct misconceptions, again, that pain is not damage, foster safety and self-efficacy, encourage gradual movement and activities, support emotional regulation and resilience, and empower the patients to participate in their care. Next. One size doesn't fit all. We need to fit the patient's teaching styles, but I find that experiential learning, if they experience what we are teaching them, there's nothing that can replace that learning. They would never forget those. And we have, during the sessions, we do movement exploration, visualizations, and PRT exercises so they can experience this effect of knowledge. Next. Doctors aren't great educators. We are not trained to educate people. And sometimes we use language that is scary and we use long words and we don't explain things well. And this is not taught in medical school, because in medical school we learn about, a biomedical focus. We have very little time. There's discomfort with uncertainties. Patients expect us to give a pill, to give an injection, to give surgery and cure them. And there are systems barriers. So unfortunately, our healthcare system is not conducive for this knowledge exchange. Next. So we doctors are trained to cure, not to coach. Next. In chronic pain, coaching is often the most powerful medicine. Next. So you do need to find a good coach. And I basically started this YouTube channel because I wanted people to have information from a source that, like me, it's just me teaching everything that I know, and it's accessible anywhere in the world. I put closed captions in more than 55 languages. And it's, they can hear, they can see, and I can demonstrate things for them. Next. So I have educational videos that I explain what is fibromyalgia, what is central sensitization, and I in the clinic, when I'm seeing the patient at the end of my consult, they are tired, I'm tired, and I don't have the pictures, the slides, and I tell them, I think you have fibromyalgia. I'm not going to explain to you right now what is fibromyalgia because I will not do a good job. Go home and watch this video, 17 minutes, and you will see me explaining to you what it is. And I have a script and I'm following the script. So I think you can learn much more from me if you watch this video than instead of me trying to rush here and tell you everything I know about fibromyalgia. So I think using other medium to explain and teach patients is very helpful. Next. And if they don't believe in me, I tell them, watch testimonials. I also interview people like Leslie, who had trigeminal neuralgia. She was on high dose of opioids and she tapered opioids. Like Janie Plant, who had 37 years of pain, debilitating pain, and with PRT, brain retraining, she eliminated most of that with knowledge. Nobody gave Jane a pill of knowledge. She learned things and her pain was much, much better, almost gone completely. I would say, she said she's cured for the last 2 years. Next. I have books that I teach everything that I know. Like the first book, 8 Steps to Conquer Chronic Pain, is everything that I know about chronic pain. And the other one is more like a daily reflection journal for them to find out things that will increase their resilience. Next. And then I have my website. There are tons of handouts, more than 50 handouts related to my videos that people can download for free. You know, they can just go there and become a member. It's free to become a member. They can download all the handouts. Next. So education is treatment, not just information. I think that's my last one. Next. And these are some resources, how you can find those things that I mentioned here. I'm also on a lot of social media. And the last one here is how you can get a link to my books. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation there, Dr. Furline. We'll move into the next presentation with Linda and Dr. Jones, but Linda will be starting off first. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Haley, and thank you, Dr. Furlong. It was very interesting. Even for somebody has some knowledge, I learn something all the time. So I'm going to start talking about a new tool, for a pain assessment tool that we've been working on for quite a while. It's called Impact, which is my pain assessment communication tool. And I know I don't have to tell many of you on this webinar and this conference how bad we do not like the old pain 1 to 10 assessment tool. And I know I've been living with chronic pain for 40 plus years. I never found it to be helpful, not one bit. In fact, I think lots of times it actually did not help my pain. It made it worse. Trying to figure out how to tell them what number that the pain was. And I had talked to many other people through the Chronic Pain Network, and it's the same feedback from most people living with pain. This is not something that helps us. It is, we don't know who invented it, but we wanted to come up with a better one. We worked with Dragonclaw and Charmaine, the Canadian Arthritis Patient Alliance. We worked on another resource called Know Your Numbers, which is trying to explain all the blood work and tests we have to have for rheumatoid arthritis. And Charmaine had mentioned during that project that, something we need to work on is this pain assessment. This 1 to 10 doesn't work. And I said, oh, I know, Charmaine, I hear it, I feel the same. And we had a great conversation about it. And when we finished Know Your Numbers, she said, how about we tackle this one next? And I said, okay. So we did, and we had this idea, and we talked about it, and then took it out to the community, to some people at the Chronic Pain Network, and and everybody was so enthusiastic, and they just were so happy that somebody was actually looking at this, that we could maybe finally for once and all get rid of this 1 to 10 and really be able to give a better picture of how pain is affecting our lives. So we put out a call to the community, and we approached the Chronic Pain Network, and they gave us tremendous support through Divya and Rachel and all the people that were working there. We were pretty excited to have them on board, and the patient engagement committee from the Chronic Pain Network were this is the flow chart that Divya is showing about the kind of the process that I'm going through right now. So we struck a working group, and then Dragon Claw is Canadian, but it also has Australian members. So we ended up being able to pull in international people living with pain, as well as international clinicians and researchers. We had people from the US. It was just really a great effort. People all volunteered their time and were excited and enthusiastic. And at first we had concerns that we might have just too much of a working group, too big of a working group. And but as it turned out, then we ended up having a smaller working group that met every month. And then we had a larger group because there was so much enthusiasm and interest. We had the larger group come. We met with them every 3 months to give them updates on what we were working on. So we decided the purpose for the tool was to help that people better communicate their pain. We also didn't want to waste our time. We wanted to know that if there was something out there already that was like this, then maybe we could adapt it and get it out into the hands of patients. It wasn't about us wanting to do something better or bigger. It was about having something that would actually work for patients. And if something already existed, we didn't want to go ahead and do something else. So we did a fairly extensive review of the existing tools, and there was really nothing that we felt met the needs of people living with chronic pain. So we continued with our meetings. We developed a patient word list. We broke into smaller working groups. So we still had our large working group. We had the smaller working group, and then we had a working group that looked at the words. So that was one of the things that is unique to our pain tool. And I know I struggled with after when I had a recent flare, I had different pain in my hands, and I've had pain my whole life, but this pain, I couldn't quite grab a word to try to describe what it was doing. And it was, how do you tell your doctor what's going on if you can't even explain how the pain feels? So then we were doing this word list, and then somebody came out with the word 9, and I was like, bingo, that's it. That's what my pain in my hands feels like. Anyway, so it even helped me describe. So we ended up with the words, and the ones that were used 5 or more times were some of the ones that made it to the list. We also knew that we couldn't cover every single word. So we had to put blank spaces on the tool so people can write in their own words as in addition, but the ones that we have to maybe help prompt them and help them think about what words. So throughout the whole process, we developed a working copy of the tool, and then we shared the drafts with some pain researchers and some clinicians. We had a couple of focus groups, and overwhelmingly, people were impressed. They liked it. The feedback we were getting, I don't think we only had one person that said, "Where's the 1 to 10 scale on the tool?" So, but that was one person out of a whole bunch. But so we won't, we kind of like, okay, well, we're trying to get away from that, but that's, we'll try to incorporate it. So we incorporated all the feedback to the tool to try to clarify its usefulness, and came with finally in April, after a year of working, we came to the final draft, and so that's what we're going to present today. Charmaine's going to show you how it works. It's an interactive tool. You can also print it off and use it however you like. And then future steps in the world, like we've applied for a CIHR grant to try to do some validating of the tool get it into some pain clinics to see, how it works in the real world. We've also done, we have articles for publication that we've submitted, so we haven't heard back on a couple of them, but hopefully that will happen soon. We also, and I don't, this is a surprise for Charmaine, but we have an article, CAPA was asked to put an article in one of the health inserts, and I think it's a Toronto Star, but there's a couple, they have them every 3 or 4 months. So I put the tool in the upcoming edition of this insert, so it will be out there for that as well. So yeah, we want to get this into the hands of patients, get it out there, which is another reason why we're here today. We want to just help people, and we hope that everybody will be able to benefit from it. And I'm going to turn it to Charmaine.
Right. All right. Thanks, Linda. So, there's nothing worse than feeling hopeless and helpless and alone, is there? And I always think when you have a problem, you need a plan. But to have a plan, you need a partnership. So your healthcare provider comes with some knowledge, but you know what? Patients have knowledge too, and patients are the other part of that partnership. But you have to be seen and you have to be heard. And I don't know how many of you have been to many other sessions of this conference, but some people use art, like Michelle Wan's daughter was using art to be seen and heard because she didn't have the words. And Vasilina's powerful digital story was also talking about being seen and being fully heard and how painful it is to be suffering, but look okay on the outside. So we have developed this tool. Patients have developed this tool, and I am a patient as well. I live with rheumatoid arthritis. And this is a communication tool. It's to help us be seen and be heard. So I imagine you're all kind of keen to see this. So here it is on the screen. And under the impact, it says, sharing how my pain impacts me. It's kind of a play on words. And of course, there's a spot for the name and the date, because some people have told us that they want to use this as a diary, and they'd fill it in on some sort of regular basis so they can look back and see the progress they're making or not. And this tool has been made to be interactive. So Divya will show you that she has pain in her right shoulder, and the more times she clicks on that, the more stronger the coloring is going to be. That's kind of to take the place of 0 to 10. And then Linda mentioned the words, the intensity words and the descriptive words. These are the words that our small working group came up with. And I actually like the intensity and the descriptive, but there are blank spaces there for you to fill in your own words if none of them are quite right. Now, we really encourage you to make this tool your own. You can print it off, you can use colors, you can put tracing paper and layer it if you have many kinds of pain, or you can do it on the computer as Divya is showing you. And this is on its own not that remarkable, this Atlas of Pain. There's lots of tools that have these diagrams. I think the really different part is on the next page, the back of the tool. And Divya will move to that. This is how you share how the pain is affecting you. On the left, you have how does the pain affect my body? You can feel challenged, disabled, nauseated, shaking. And again, we've put blanks in there for you. And the bottom, we're trying to get at the affective part. How does the pain make me feel? You can feel, of course, angry, helpless, irritable, moody, sad. And of course, you can fill in anything that comes to mind or that you want to share with your provider, or share with your friends, or share with your family. How is my life impacted? And we've tried to give you kind of prompt words like, is it affecting your sleep? Is it affecting your chores, your hobbies, your parenting, or your caregiving, for example? And it's open-ended, so you write their paragraph. And importantly, how am I trying to manage my pain? And this, as you think about it, might give you some clues as to what is a good activity for you, what works, what doesn't work. And lastly, I am aware of some things that bring my pain on and make it worse. So these are all ways to try to be seen, to get across how this pain is affecting you. For example, recently I've had some shoulder pain, and it's not that strong. It's like a 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. But you know what? Keeps me up all night. And that's not good. I need my sleep. So on the 0 to 10 scale, patients told us they actually think about, well, let me see. If I say 10, they're going to think I'm exaggerating. If I say less than 5, they're going to think it's not important. So I better say somewhere in there, 6 to 9. It's not really very helpful. But we're hoping that this, especially how my life is impacted, will be helpful. And we've done a tip sheet that goes with the tool. And Divya just took the slides off. She might put them back on. I think it's the next slide, Divya. Yes. And that's just tips about how you can use it, why you use it. Some health professionals now allow you to upload things to your chart or upload to an email, so it's there for your visit. Others, of course, don't. You might be more comfortable printing it off and taking it in with you. That's fine, whatever. And then very importantly, and we had a big discussion about this, how chronic pain can impact our mental health. And the two countries, especially Australia and Canada, were actually very different in this approach. Australia wanted to be very upfront and center about risk for self-harm. But in the end, we compromised on putting this paragraph in about if you really feel you're struggling, we support you in reaching out and getting help. So that's our tool. We have applied for a grant in Canada to do some studies in pain clinics in Canada and the US, because we really want to see this picked up and used and trialed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation on the MPACT tool. If I didn't mention this at the start, I will also reiterate it at the end, but the resources will be made available on the Zoom conference platform. So now I'll hand it over to Dr. Pinard.
Thank you. I'm just going to share this and this. It should be okay. Is it working okay? All good?
I believe so.
Thank you. What's that? You
Looks
believe
good.
so? Thank you. Just a few words in English to say thank you to Linda and Charmaine for their presentation, and also to my colleague Andrea for all she's doing for chronic pain and helping educate our patient. I agree, we're not as good as educator as we should be sometimes. Alors, c'est un grand plaisir pour moi de présenter en français. I'll be happy to answer questions in French or in English. My slides are in English and I'll be speaking in French. Donc, je vais essayer de ne pas me mélanger. Donc, on va parler d'autogestion, de ressources qui ont été développées pour vous aider à vous aider vous-même avec votre douleur chronique. Donc, en termes de conflit d'intérêts, je suis membre du comité scientifique aviseur du Centre d'excellence en douleur chronique pour les vétérans canadiens et j'ai reçu dans la dernière année une rémunération pour une conférence de la compagnie Novartis Canada qui n'a aucun produit en douleur comme tel. Alors, souvent, quand on cherche des réponses à notre douleur chronique et qu'on n'a pas nécessairement les réponses qu'on veut de nos professionnels de la santé ou quand on est en attente de rencontrer un professionnel de la santé, ben on cherche. Et on cherche où? Ben, la plupart du temps, on va aller chercher sur Internet et c'est à ce moment-là que Google va devenir Docteur Google. Mais un instant, on n'est pas toujours habitué de rechercher avec des critères de qualité. En effet, ce qu'on retrouve sur Internet n'est pas toujours d'une bonne qualité et je vais essayer de vous donner dans les quelques minutes qui suivent des façons de faire pour aller chercher de façon plus juste sur Internet. Puis je vais aussi vous parler d'une ressource qui est bilingue pour vous permettre d'avoir accès à des ressources qui ont été vérifiées pour vous. Donc, quand on regarde une ressource sur Internet, comme par exemple les vidéos de Dr. Furlan, ben, on est capable de savoir qui les a réalisées. Mais ça arrive assez souvent qu'on retrouve des ressources sur Internet et qu'on ne sait pas qui est la personne qui a écrit cette ressource-là ou qui est le groupe. Malheureusement, il y a des gens qui travaillent très fort pour développer des outils, puis on ne sait pas nécessairement qui ils sont. Ensuite, il faut se demander à quelle date cette ressource-là ou ce vidéo-là a été fait. Évidemment, si on parle par exemple, de l'examen physique, même si ça date d'il y a 10 ans, c'est probablement encore valide. Mais si on parle de gestion de médicaments ou d'une technique récente, ben c'est peut-être important d'avoir une idée que ça a été écrit dans les dernières années, dans les années récentes. Alors, c'est vraiment important de regarder cet aspect-là. Et curieusement, très souvent, tout comme les auteurs, on ne retrouve pas la date à laquelle les ressources ont été créées. Il faut aussi se demander, est-ce que c'est basé sur de la littérature scientifique? C'est pas toujours facile de le savoir, mais les gens qui écrivent de façon très systématique ou qui sont des experts dans leur domaine, mais on va le savoir, qui vont se baser sur les plus récentes données scientifiques, puis c'est quand même très important. Mais comme c'est compliqué à faire, ben, je vous présente ce qu'on a fait, nous, pour le site Gérer ma douleur, qui est complètement bilingue pour l'aspect patient. On est allé regarder sur Internet, puis on a trouvé plus de 4200 ressources différentes. On a commencé par regarder tous les organismes sans but lucratif de la province de Québec. Et ensuite, on a ajouté beaucoup d'autres ressources qui nous ont été proposées. Et en passant, vous pouvez nous en proposer des ressources également. Ensuite, on est allé appliquer les 3 critères de qualité dont je vous ai parlé il y a quelques minutes. Est-ce qu'on sait qui est l'auteur? Est-ce qu'on a une date de création ou de révision? Et est-ce qu'il y a des références scientifiques? Quand les ressources que l'on trouvait, que ce soit des vidéos, des écrits, des podcasts, avaient au moins 2 des 3 critères auteur, date, référence, on passait ça entre les mains d'experts qui travaillent en douleur chronique, donc des médecins, des physiothérapeutes, des infirmières, des ergothérapeutes, des pharmaciens, toute une grande variété des psychologues, de professionnels de la santé qui travaillent déjà auprès de la clientèle de douleur chronique pour s'assurer que les ressources étaient pertinentes, cohérentes avec le message qu'on essaie de donner, entre autres, sur l'aspect de l'importance de l'autogestion. Et est-ce que c'était clair? Hein? Dr. Furlan l'a bien dit tantôt. Des fois, on utilise des mots un peu hermétiques, donc on s'assurait que ce soit clair. Donc, si vous allez visiter le site, en français, c'est gérermadouleur.ca. En anglais, c'est mypainmanagement.ca, mais vous pouvez changer la langue en haut et vous allez cliquer sur « Je suis un patient ». Vous allez retrouver des ressources qui sont divisées en 8 catégories différentes. Quand on va regarder les différentes ressources, là, vous avez ici la version anglaise, on voit par exemple le titre de la ressource, le type. Alors ici, c'est une vidéo. Il y a aussi des écrits comme celle d'en haut et celle d'en bas, puis des podcasts également. On voit la langue. Celle-ci est en français, celle d'en haut est en anglais. Et le lien, pardon, pour aller consulter la ressource. Vous pouvez aussi vous créer un compte sur le site. C'est complètement gratuit, c'est absolument pas dangereux. C'est un site qui a été conçu à l'Université Laval et ça vous permettra de garder des favoris pour vous permettre de vous créer une banque de ressources parce qu'on a environ 300 sur le site. Mais rappelez-vous, pour arriver à 300, on a regardé 4200 ressources, comme quoi la qualité sur Dr Google n'est pas toujours au rendez-vous. Sur le site, pour l'instant du côté francophone, mais on vous promet une traduction d'ici le début 2026 en anglais, on retrouve Agir pour moi. Et là, ma prochaine diapo est en français parce qu'Agir pour moi est en français. C'est un programme d'autogestion de la douleur qui a été réalisé dans le cadre d'un doctorat, bien sûr basé sur les plus récentes recherches au niveau scientifique, mais aussi basé sur l'expérience de 7 personnes. Je sais, il y en a juste 5 dans la diapositive. Il y a 2 personnes qui ont contribué de façon significative à la création d'Agir pour moi, mais qui n'ont pas souhaité témoigner à visage découvert dans le projet. Donc, les gens que vous voyez à l'écran, ce sont des gens qui vivent avec la douleur chronique à tous les jours et qui ont développé différentes stratégies pour arriver à avoir une bonne qualité de vie malgré la douleur chronique et qui nous ont énormément aidés à créer ce programme-là, Agir pour moi. C'est un programme qui se fait sur environ 8 semaines. On parle d'à peu près 1 heure, 1 heure et demie par semaine, qui ne demande pas l'accompagnement d'un professionnel de la santé. C'est vraiment très facile. Vous pouvez commencer tantôt si vous le souhaitez. Et ça explique vraiment ce qu'est la douleur chronique et ce qu'on peut faire pour apprendre à la gérer. On y parle, entre autres, de pacing, de comment diviser ses activités dans une journée pour arriver à conserver de l'énergie puis pas être épuisé pendant 2 jours quand on a fait quelque chose. On parle aussi d'activité physique. Dans l'activité physique, c'est un sujet très tabou parce que souvent, les gens qui souffrent de douleurs chroniques se sentent coupables de ne pas être actifs physiquement. Et l'activité physique, ça ne veut pas nécessairement dire faire du sport. Je dis toujours à mes collègues médecins quand je donne des conférences que ma plus petite prescription d'activité physique à un patient, c'est habillez-vous tous les jours. Quelqu'un qui ne s'habille pas à tous les jours va certainement pas aller marcher 10 minutes. Donc, on commence par le début et c'est comme ça qu'on arrive à faire une certaine activation et à avoir des victoires au lieu des échecs. Comment prendre soin de ses pensées? Hein? C'est certain que si on se dit toujours ça ira pas bien, il y a de fortes chances qu'effectivement, ça n'aille pas très bien. Donc, on apprend des techniques pour essayer de gérer les pensées plus négatives qui peuvent survenir. On parle d'habitudes de vie, hein, d'alimentation et de sommeil. On aurait pu parler de beaucoup d'autres éléments, mais c'est les 2 qu'on a choisis parce que c'est vraiment très important dans le contexte de la douleur chronique. Et ensuite, on a parlé du maintien du changement. Prendre des bonnes habitudes, c'est faisable. Les maintenir dans le temps, c'est plus difficile. Donc, on discute évidemment de cet aspect-là également. On présente Agir pour moi un peu comme un menu dégustation au restaurant. Donc, on vous propose plusieurs stratégies différentes. On vous suggère d'être curieux, d'aller essayer, d'aller goûter un peu comme au restaurant pour ensuite choisir les stratégies qui vont vous convenir le mieux à vous dans votre contexte. Donc, c'est vraiment une panoplie de stratégies qui vont vous être offertes. Je vous invite maintenant à écouter Pascal, qui était une de nos patientes partenaires, qui nous explique vraiment très bien comment elle a réussi à adopter des stratégies pour profiter de la vie. La vidéo est en français, mais les sous-titres sont en anglais.
Les stratégies d'autogestion de la douleur que j'utilise, ce sont toutes celles qui vont être présentées dans ce programme. Gestion de l'énergie, gestion des activités, du stress, des émotions, du sommeil, l'alimentation. Toutes les stratégies, mais à différents niveaux en fonction de mes besoins à moi. Donc, c'est vraiment personnalisé selon mes capacités, selon mes limites à moi. L'idée, c'est pas de supprimer la douleur. L'idée, c'est d'être capable de profiter de la vie au maximum.
Alors voilà un petit résumé. Oups, pardon. Les patients qui ont accepté de participer à ce projet-là ont été vraiment extrêmement généreux et vont témoigner tout au long du programme par des courtes vidéos comme celle-ci, ce qui fait que les gens qui vivent avec la douleur chronique et qui entreprennent le programme vont souvent se sentir beaucoup moins seuls, hein, parce que les gens nous disent souvent, si j'avais un plâtre, si j'avais des béquilles, si j'étais amputée, ce serait différent, les gens comprendraient mieux. Eh bien là, il y a dans ce programme des gens qui sont là pour refléter de leur propre expérience. Alors, l'autogestion, le programme Agir pour moi est là pour vous aider à essayer de naviguer le grand labyrinthe qui est la douleur chronique pour essayer de réussir à en sortir le plus aisément possible. Et comme vous le voyez, il n'y a pas une seule sortie, il y a des sorties qui peuvent être personnalisées selon chacune des personnes. Alors, je vous remercie de votre attention. Ça va me faire grand plaisir de prendre vos questions. Merci.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Pinard. So we will take some questions now from the Q&A. So the first question that I see here from Catherine, this is for Dr. Furlane. So have you done any studies on fasciitis, the role in pain? They say that they have learned that fasciitis has more pain receptors than muscle and covers every cell in our body. So they're wondering if you've done any studies on that condition.
Thank you for that question. I have a colleague here, physiatrist, and Dr. Kumbari, and he is looking into myofascial pain, the biological mechanisms. But there are a lot of studies done from the NIH. They were published about 15 years ago, where they looked at the fascia and the muscles and see if they were in the muscles. We call those trigger points, and also in the fascia too. That's why we call myofascial pain, because it's myo from the muscle, fascia from the muscle fascia. And yes, they do have pain receptors, not as many as we thought. And there's a group from Milan in Italy that they dissect the fascia, Dr. Antonio Stecco. He came here to Toronto a couple of years ago to teach our team. And it does have some nociceptors, but not that many. And that's why myofascial pain is not so well localized. Like if the skin has lots and lots, thousands of receptors for pain. And if I pinch my skin here, my brain knows exactly the location. But a trigger point in my upper trapezius here, which is in the muscle and the fascia, it's a myofascial pain, the brain cannot localize so well. The brain will say, oh, it's around here. The heart is also a muscle, and the heart also has muscle fibers and fascia. And a person cannot come to the emergency and say, I'm having a heart attack on this side of the heart, not on the other side of the heart. They say, my pain is in my jaw, my back, my stomach, my shoulder, because anything that is under the skin, muscles, fascia, viscera, organs, it's not so well localized. So unfortunately, they do have receptors, but not so much. And we have to go by those maps. I don't know if I answered that question, but that was a very interesting question. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thanks so much for your response to that question. So there are a couple of questions in the Q&A about the resources and the tools that were discussed in today's presentations. Again, I want to reiterate those resources will be made available through the Zoom conference platform. So please take a look at that when you have some time on the platform. Here are some questions that were developed before our session here. So the first question here I have in particular for the presenters is how can patients be empowered to take ownership of their pain management without feeling overwhelmed? And maybe let's start with Dr. Jones and Linda, because you go through the MPACT tool and using that for keeping track of severity of your pain.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm thinking that the tool might help with that. And then creating a plan with your healthcare provider or providers, I think would be the next step, like step 1, step 2. If you go to Dr. Ferlin or Dr. Pennard, you will be expected to do some homework, which I think is excellent. But you don't have to do it all at once. Just get started, and learn. They've given you what tremendous resources, all for free, I gather. Yes, so one step at a time. But you need to feel, at least in my experience, speaking for myself, I need to feel supported. I need to feel that I have a partnership with my healthcare team or partner, so that step 1, step 2, step 3, if I'm still struggling, I go back and get some more help or support or pointers. It's horrible to feel out there on your own with nothing. Right now, it's a very personal thing, but I've moved to British Columbia and I do not have a family doctor here. And I'm glad I'm feeling okay right now, but I do have a chronic condition. And yes, I'm waiting to be matched up. Apparently, it can take 2 years. And that's a horrible feeling. You want to feel you have a partnership with somebody that will help you get through it.
And just to add, when you take the impact, and one of our working group members filled it out as a trial for us when we were developing it. And when she showed it to us and she shared her screen on one of the meetings, I mean, it was just so profound and so, in depth. It just showed, it's not, for me, I think when you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have pain in your knees, you have pain in your hip, you have pain in your neck. So your pain in your shoulder might be a 5, but the pain in your knee might be a 10. And I remember often saying when they asked me, and Mark Charmaine said, "Oh, they think if you say 10, that they're not going to pay attention to me." I never said 10. I would, if I was when I was in really bad pain, I would say it's like 20 or 25. So no, 1 to 10 was never good enough for me, and it had to go deeper than that. But it's such a simplistic picture. It doesn't give the whole picture. So when you take this impact to your doctor, hopefully they'll look at it and say, "Oh, okay, maybe this person is having pain. Let's start the conversation." And my family doctor is not really good at listening, but unfortunately I have other providers that do listen. So I guess that's the other idea, is if you do have a doctor who's not listening to you, then you try to maybe approach one of your other specialists. There's somebody who will listen. So, and
I remember vividly when this member showed us the pain tool filled in and how she filled it in. And my comment was, how do you get dressed in the morning? Like, this is the problem with chronic pain. She looks normal. She's functioning, she's appropriately dressed, she's saying appropriate things. I would never have known, except I saw this image. So we hope it will be helpful.
Okay, thank you for that. But there's also another question that was asked earlier in the chat. I know Delane had responded to that, but in particular for this tool, how do you denote if each section has a different type of pain and sort of personalize that within the tool itself?
That is difficult. One of the things I've seen done is have get some tracing paper and lay it on top, and you can have several layers, or you can do several printouts. But it's kind of neat to see it all superimposed on one image. But this is difficult. We worked with the tech people about could they have different colors, so you could donate color coding, and apparently that was would complicate matters greatly. So they suggested we not go that route. So the best route, I think, is to print it off and get yourself some colored pencils. But yes, we understood that. It's and the other thing that people really struggle with, if they have several diagnoses, and in our membership, it seems that that's not uncommon, they're not quite sure which pain to take to their arthritis doctor versus which pain do they take to their multiple sclerosis doctor, or which pain do they take to their osteoarthritis doctor. But having listened to Dr. Ferland and Dr. Pennard about chronic pain, that might not be so important, because the important thing is learning how your nervous system has responded over time to the pain signals, which is a different, it just kind of flips the whole concept, or your whole image of how to approach chronic pain. I think it's a really important thing to fully understand. But I'll let them maybe add to that.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I was about to say to let Dr. Forline and Dr. Pennard sort of, on this and their responses here.
Yeah, so first of all, the origin of the 0 to 10 or 0 to 100 was for research. Because when we do research, you do a clinical trial, you need to have numbers, and you have to have some sort of an objective number. And it's so easy to calculate means and standard deviations, confidence intervals. So that's why. But I do agree that they don't really are very helpful in our clinical encounters. So for me, we use the BPI, the brief pain inventory, for every visit that the patients come to our clinic, that asks them to give a number for the pain right now, what is the pain right now, the worst pain you had in the last 24 hours, the least pain, and the average pain. And then on the other side of the page is how much pain affects your function. And here are 7 items that I want you to give how much pain is interfering that function. When I look at those scores, like the 0 to 10, I have a sense of how much the person is suffering. That's what it tells me. If they are marking the 9, 10s, the worst, I see they're suffering a lot. It doesn't tell me anything about how much damage is in the body. That's the truth. But I know this person is suffering a lot. The other thing that I also use is the minimum, the worst pain and the least pain, because then I ask them why your pain varies from a 3 to a 9. When does your pain go to a 9? When does your pain go to a 3? What do you do? So that helps me to see what they're doing, what helps them. But how I measure if the interventions we are doing with them are working is in the other side of the page, is the function, how much the pain is interfering with their function. So that's another way. And also we look at the body diagram. Every visit, they have a body pain diagram, and they mark all the areas that they have pain. And we look if those areas are kind of shrinking. And that's what I call the fog and the smoke. The fog is the nociplastic pain that they mark everywhere. That is the fog. Fog is not bad. Fog is water, is vapor, is steam, it's healthy. Nociplastic pain is not a measure of damage, but that's the fog. If we can remove the fog, I may be able to see the smoke. And the smoke might be that arthritis, that tendinitis, that bursitis, that nociceptive or neuropathic pain they're having. So that's helpful when I see the pain diagram. If we can remove the fog and focus on the areas that are something that I can intervene.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Verlaine. We are almost right on time. I wish we had more time and for everyone to chime in on the questions from our participants. But before we end today's session, I just want to say that the resources, again, are on the Zoom conference platform. The resource that Dr. Pinard had shared about the self-management application online that's available in French, and then Dr. Furloin's YouTube channel and other links to resources would be made available there. The Impact and Know Your Numbers tool is actually available on the Chronic Pain website, but that will also be shared on the conference platform. And so again, thank you everyone for being here for our session today. I hope that you found these presentations insightful and these resources will be helpful for you. And don't forget to check those out there. To everyone, you have yourself a great day and you take care.
Thanks, everyone. I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to add to what Haley mentioned and just say that shortly after the session finishes, we're going to upload the all of the resources to the exhibitor area. Okay. I just wanted to thank again all of our presenters and our facilitators today, and to everybody for being so engaged in the Q&A, and it really just felt a lot of love from everybody today, and a lot of thoughtfulness as well, from the very beginning of the day all the way till the end. Lots of reflection happening